Hey everyone. You ever get that feeling like you're just surrounded by a product?
Like, it's everywhere you turn.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Lately for me, it's been these blue light glasses. Like, are they really the miracle cure for our screen-obsessed lives? Or is just marketing hype, you know?
Oh, I totally get you. It's a pretty compelling idea. Like, just pop on these glasses and suddenly all the bad stuff from screens just
Right,
disappears.
like no more eye strain, better sleep, even protecting your vision long term. It all sounds almost too good to be true.
Well, that's what we're going to unpack today.
Let's cut through the noise and figure out what the actual science tells us about blue light glasses.
Do they live up to the hype? Are they worth our money? We've got a lot to dig into.
We've got some really solid sources to help us break this down. We've looked into information from the American Academy of Ophthalmology.
Those are like the eye experts, right?
Yeah, they're the authority. And we've also got a major review from researchers at the University of Melbourne. They published their findings in the Cochrane database of systematic reviews.
Now that's like the gold standard for research analysis.
Exactly. And we didn't stop there. We also found a similar review from PubMed and the Cochrane Library.
Really thorough stuff.
We also wanted to get some perspectives from companies actually involved in this space.
See what they have to say, right?
Yeah, so we looked at insights from Eclipse Optics and Axon Optics.
Oh, yeah, those are some big names in blue light glasses.
And we also tapped into the expertise of Healthline and the College of Optometrists.
So we're covering all the bases here.
Let's start with the basics. What exactly is blue light?
Okay, so, you know how sunlight is made up of all the colors of the rainbow?
Yeah, like a prism splitting the light.
Exactly. Blue light is just one part of that spectrum of visible light. It's the high energy stuff, specifically wavelengths between 400 and 490 nanometers.
Okay, so it's basically a color.
Kind of, yeah. The thing is, blue light is everywhere. The sun is obviously the biggest source, but it's also coming from all our devices. Phones, computers, tablets, even LED lights give off blue light.
Oh yeah, I've definitely noticed my phone screen seems brighter at night.
Exactly. Now here's the thing. Blue light isn't all bad. In fact, we need it. Our bodies use blue light, particularly from the sun, to regulate our circadian rhythm. That's our natural sleep-wake cycle.
It was like our internal clock.
Exactly. Blue light in the morning helps us wake up and feel alert. But at night, too much exposure to blue light from our devices can mess with our sleep signals. That's where the concerns come in.
So it's all about timing, right? Too much blue light at the wrong time. Okay, let's talk about the big claims around blue light glasses. One of the main ones I hear is that they help reduce digital eye strain. You know, that tired, dry, blurry feeling you get after staring at a screen for too long.
Right.
Do they actually deliver on that promise?
Well, the American Academy of Ophthalmology, those eye experts we talked about, they've got a pretty strong stance on this.
What do they say?
They basically say there's no convincing scientific evidence that the blue light coming from our screens is actually damaging to our eyes.
So they're saying the blue light itself isn't the problem.
That's their position, yeah. And because of that, they don't recommend those special glasses just for computer use.
Wow, okay. So if it's not the blue light causing eye strain, what is it?
Good question. The Academy says eye strain is more likely due to how we use our screens. When we're glued to our devices, we tend to blink less. And blinking is super important to keep our eyes lubricated and comfortable.
Oh yeah, I've totally caught myself staring without blinking when I'm working on something intense.
Exactly. That reduced blinking can lead to dryness, fatigue, and that overall feeling of strain.
Makes sense.
Huh.
So what do they recommend we do instead of buying these glasses?
Well, they're big on good screen habits, like the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, look at something 20 feet away for at least 20 seconds.
Oh yeah, I've heard that one before.
It really helps. They also suggest making sure your screen is about an arm's length away, positioned slightly below eye level. If your eyes feel dry, using artificial tears can help. And think about the lighting in your room and the brightness on your screen. Even adjusting those can make a difference.
Yeah, sometimes I forget to adjust my screen brightness when I move from room to room.
It makes a big difference. And even switching from contacts to glasses sometimes can give your eyes a break.
Those are all really practical things we can do without spending any extra money.
Yeah.
Now, what about those big research reviews we mentioned? Like the Cochrane review, what did they find about blue light glasses and eye strain?
Well, the Cochrane Review, remember that's like the top tier analysis of research, they looked at 17 studies with over 600 participants.
Wow, so a lot of data.
Yeah, it's a really thorough review. And their conclusion was that, based on all that data, those blue light filtering lenses probably don't do much to reduce eye strain in the short term.
Probably don't do much.
Yeah.
That's pretty different from what those ads claim. And what about the other review, the one from PubMed and the Cochrane Library? Did they find something similar?
Yeah, pretty much. They also concluded that blue light filtering glasses, compared to regular glasses, probably don't have a big impact on relieving eye strain symptoms from using computers, at least not in the short term.
Okay, so two major reviews are saying the evidence isn't really there. Healthline also looked into this, right? What did they find?
Yeah, they did. Healthline mentioned a 2017 review that found only weak evidence supporting the idea that blue light glasses help prevent dry eyes. They also cited a study where just a third of participants said they saw any benefit, like less glare or clearer vision.
Hmm, only a third. That's not very convincing.
It's important to note that the study they cited was funded by a lens company. That doesn't necessarily mean the results are wrong, but it's something to be aware of.
Yeah, it's always good to know who's funding research. So the takeaway here seems to be that the strongest scientific evidence doesn't really support the claim that blue light glasses are effective at reducing eye strain from screens. Let's move on to another big promise. Better sleep. Does blocking blue light at night actually help us sleep better?
Okay, so this gets into how blue light affects our sleep-wake cycle.
Our circadian rhythm.
Exactly. Both the American Academy of Ophthalmology and Eclipse Optics agree that there's some science behind the idea that blue light can suppress melatonin production. Melatonin is that hormone that helps us feel sleepy.
So the logic is less blue light, more melatonin, better sleep.
Yeah, that's the theory. But the research is a little less clear-cut.
Oh,
The University of Melbourne's Cochrane review looked at this too, and they found that it's still unclear whether these lenses actually make a difference in how well people sleep. They couldn't draw any firm conclusions from the studies they analyzed.
so the jury's still out on that one. And the PubMed Cochrane Library review. Did they have any stronger findings?
Well, they looked at 6 studies with about 150 people to see if blue light glasses made a difference in sleep quality. And the results were mixed. Some studies reported improvements in sleep, while others didn't find any significant difference compared to people wearing regular glasses.
So some people saw a benefit, some didn't.
Right. Because the results were so inconsistent and the people in the studies were quite different, the researchers said they had very low certainty in the evidence overall.
Very low certainty. It doesn't sound too promising. Didn't Eclipse Optics mention something about a study on sleep too?
Yeah, they pointed to a small study that suggested wearing blue light glasses before bed could lead to higher melatonin levels and better sleep. But it's important to remember that one small study isn't always enough to draw big conclusions. Larger, more rigorous studies are needed to really see if something has a consistent effect.
Makes sense. So it seems like, based on the current evidence, the sleep benefits of blue light glasses are still a bit of a question mark.
Yeah, I'd say so.
Let's tackle the last big claim. Protection against long-term eye damage, specifically age-related macular degeneration, or AMD. Is there any truth to the idea that blue light glasses can help prevent that?
The American Academy of Ophthalmology was pretty straightforward on this one. They said there's no evidence that the light coming from computer screens actually causes eye disease.
That's reassuring to hear. What did those big research reviews find about this?
Well, the Cochrane review from the University of Melbourne said they just couldn't conclude anything about potential long-term effects of blue light on retinal health. The other review, the one from PubMed and the Cochrane Library, was even more clear-cut. They didn't find any studies that directly looked at whether blue light filtering lenses affected macular health.
So, no evidence of protection there. But I remember Eclipse Optics mentioned a possible connection between blue light and AMD.
Yeah, they did say that blue light might play a role in eye aging and potentially contribute to AMD. But it's super important to remember that the blue light we get from the sun over our lifetime is far, far more intense than what we get from our screens.
So it's about the strength of the light and how long we're exposed to it.
Exactly. The research on blue light and AMD is mainly focused on that long-term exposure to sunlight. The evidence linking the blue light from our devices to AMD just isn't very strong right now.
So it seems like the evidence for blue light glasses, whether it's for eye strain, sleep, or long-term eye health, just isn't that convincing. So what can people do if they are struggling with eye strain or having trouble sleeping after using screens?
Well, we talked about those great tips from the American Academy of Ophthalmology for minimizing eye strain. And there are a bunch of other things you can do to limit your blue light exposure without needing special glasses. Eclipse Optics and Healthline had some really helpful suggestions.
What are some of the key things we can do?
A really impactful one is to try turning off all your electronic devices an hour or two before you head to bed. That gives your body a chance to wind down without that blue light stimulation. If you're a reader, think about using an e-reader that isn't backlit instead of a tablet.
Good point.
Most devices now have a night mode or dark mode that cuts down on blue light, especially at night, so make sure to turn those on. And there are apps you can download that do the same thing. Even just lowering your screen brightness can make a difference. And of course, being mindful of how much time you spend on screens overall and taking those regular breaks with the 20-20-20 rule.
Those are all great reminders.
Healthline also suggests dimming the lights in your home in the evening and maybe even using red tone night lights since those are less likely to mess with your sleep. And don't underestimate the value of having some screen-free activities and spaces in your home. It's important to give your eyes and your brain a break from that constant stimulation. If dry eyes are a problem, over-the-counter artificial tears can often help.
Those are all really doable changes. But what if someone really wants to try blue light glasses? Are there things they should keep in mind when choosing a pair?
If you do go that route, Eclipse Optics had some good advice. They say to look for glasses that block at least 90% of blue light, specifically in the 400 to 455 nanometer range.
Why that specific range?
That's the range thought to have the biggest impact on eye strain and sleep. It's also smart to check the lens material, make sure they have good UV protection. That's important anyway, not just for blue light. And see if they have anti-reflective and scratch-resistant coatings. Those can make them more comfortable to use and help them last longer.
Yeah, practical considerations are important too.
And of course, choose a style you like and will actually wear.
You gotta like how they look.
Absolutely. Axon Optics had a pretty clear viewpoint on this too.
What did they say?
They basically said blue light glasses may work, but only if you get a good pair. So it seems like the effectiveness can really vary depending on the specific glasses you choose.
So do your research before you buy. And what did the College of Optometrists tell their members, the eye care professionals? What's their take on all this?
They advised optometrists to be upfront with their patients about the current evidence. They said there just isn't strong evidence to show that blue blocking glasses actually improve vision, reduce eye fatigue, help with sleep, or protect the macula. They really stress the importance of giving patients balanced, evidence-based information when they ask about these glasses.
So let's bring it all home for our listeners.
Mm-hmm.
After all this research, what are the key takeaways about blue light glasses?
I think the most important thing is to understand that while there's a lot of marketing hype around them, the current scientific evidence just doesn't strongly support the idea that they're a necessary or super effective solution for most adults.
So not a magic bullet.
Right. When it comes to eye strain, it seems like our screen habits are the bigger issue. And there are lots of simple, effective ways to reduce blue light exposure and take care of our eyes without needing special glasses.
Like those great tips we talked about.
Exactly.
This whole conversation really shows how important it is to be a critical thinker, especially when it comes to products that make health claims.
Absolutely. Don't just take marketing at face value. Do your research and talk to your eye doctor for personalized advice.
That's always a good idea.
You know, this leaves me with something to think about. We've seen that the evidence for blue light glasses is limited, and that changing our habits can make a difference. So I wonder if we're putting too much focus on these external fixes instead of addressing the root of the problem, our relationship with technology.
That's an interesting thought.
Maybe we need to put more effort into developing healthy screen habits and being more mindful about how we use our devices.
I think that's a great point. Maybe those changes are more powerful than any pair of glasses.
Maybe so.
Well, thanks for diving deep with us today.
It's been fun.
We'll see you next time.
Take care.